your boy was not a reader. Like, let me repeat this. Your boy was not a reader up until 2019, I want to say. I read 5 books, and 2 of those were about Michael Jordan. Let's talk about books, baby. Let's talk about what I read. Let's talk about all the good things and the necessary reads. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about books. All right. Let's get it. Welcome to another episode of Who Can Relate? Special edition, first edition. Book Club JD is officially here. Welcome. So, super excited to get into this. I get so many questions and so many different inquiries about what books I'm reading, what the quote was that I recited. You guys are going to get the full behind the scenes mindset, mentality, what's in my heart, all the above. So let's get into it. First things first, I get so many people, and unfortunately I think it's a lot of guys who are like, man, I just don't like to read. And I totally understand where you guys are coming from. Your boy was not a reader. Like, let me repeat this. Your boy was not a reader up until 2019, I want to say. I read 5 books, and 2 of those were about Michael Jordan. I said that actually on the episode of Evolve to Men with my boy Spencer. And I just went over how, I was never into books. I didn't have, the time for it, or better yet, I didn't make the time for it. And I just never really found anything that spoke to me. I never found anything that really grabbed my attention and actually made me sit down, take the time, and digest it. And he taught me a lot. And I remember he told me it's all about finding the right books at the right time. We're all going through things, right? As I often say on here. And I guess at the time I was really struggling. I was really struggling with who I wanted to be as a man. I was struggling with who I wanted to be as a future husband, a father to my daughter, a friend, just an overall better version of myself, I guess, living up to my full potential. And so I started to dig in, and I started to realize that self-help books and self-improvement books are kind of my forte, I guess, come to find out. So I really went hard. Man, I was reading like a book a month there for a long time, all in self-improvement, self-development, self-awareness, and just really trying to grow. And ultimately, my goal was to become the best version of myself, and nothing was going to stop me. And today I'm going to give you guys 5 of my best self-improvement, self-development as to what has really helped me, and I really hope will help you as well. Okay, go to the outline. Your boy's back with the outlines. Okay, the first book up is the Maxwell Daily Reader. So this book is written by none other than John C. Maxwell. I quote, recite, and post on my Instagram stories so much from this book. 9 times out of 10, whenever you see my Instagram story and you see the passage from a book, pretty sure it's this guy, and I'm pretty sure it's this book. So this book is a daily read, literally. It goes off of dates, off the year, and it's about leadership. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. There are so many quotes and so much insight and helpful inspiration that comes from this book. It's truly been one of the catalysts in changing my life and definitely changing my mindset. It's allowed me to find ways to be the best version of myself. It's also helped me be a better man in a relationship. It's also helped me in the workplace. It's one of those books where you don't have to worry about how much time can I get in today to read, or how many chapters can I get in. This is a simple daily read that will take you maybe no more than 5 minutes, I promise you, and it'll really bring more clarity and things into perspective for you on wherever you are in your life. So, okay, for example, this is how the book works. Today is, as I film this, January 13th, and the message today is control what's in you. Some of the quick little things from this passage is, do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. Focus on the journey and not the destination. You need to remember that what happens in you is more important than what happens to you. You can control your attitudes as you travel on the journey, but you have no control over the actions of others. Again, the overall premise of this chapter today was focus on the things you can do something about today. finding your roadmap for success. So again, there's so many in here. It's again one of those books that I always recommend to people easily, and I've had nothing but satisfied customers. Book number 2. Woo-hoo. Yeah. The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. If you're familiar with Rhonda Byrne, she also wrote The Secret. This book, as I have gifted it to so many people, has been probably the number one book that's completely changed my life. The overall premise of this book is gratitude. There's a 28-day or 28-week, depending on how you want to go about it, gratitude practice where every single day or week, it teaches you different ways to be grateful. And it touches on things that are from childhood. It touches on present day. It touches on your future. It teaches you how to heal. It teaches you how to forgive. It teaches you how to move on. And again, the overall premise is just taking the time to stay in the present day and be grateful for what you have. One of the great quotes in this book says, if you focus your energy and all your thoughts and your heart and your feelings on being grateful for what you have, you're going to be given more things to be grateful for. If you focus on complaining, if you focus on negativity, you're going to get more things to complain about and more things to look at as a negative. So this is such an important piece to my collection. It's the catalyst for the overall change of my growth journey that I've been on. And I got this book from my boy Spencer as well. And I remember when he gave me this, he more or less just said it's the gift that keeps on giving. Every single person that has read this book, I know you guys know, it's just a game changer. The other thing that I got from that book, and the thing that it requires you to do, is to sit down every single day during those 28 days and write out every single day 10 things that you're grateful for. And each day, try to pick a different 10. So I got a notebook. I sat down every morning. And by the way, I woke up excited to get this in every single day. And I wrote down the 10 things that I'm grateful for in my life at that particular moment on that day. And when you sit down and you reflect on all the things that you have, right? Let's be honest, okay? We all forget sometimes to be grateful for what we have and instead of wanting things that we don't have. And when you sit down and you put the pen to pad and you actually write out all these things, it hits different. It feels different, and you really grasp the true concept of what the book is trying to teach you, which is just something that it's priceless. So I can go on and on about that book, but I promise you will not be disappointed. The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. Life changer, not just game changer, life changer. All right. Book number 3, The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. Now, if you read this book, you know that these 4 agreements are pretty self-explanatory. They're pretty simple, right? Common sense stuff. It's not rocket science. However, I personally struggle with trying to implement these 4 agreements on a daily basis. So what are the 4 agreements, you ask? Let's get into it. Agreement number 1, be impeccable with your word. Now, it's natural to overpromise and underdeliver at times, right? Especially if you have a big heart like me, especially if you really care and you're a thoughtful person, you tend to put a lot more on your plate than you can ultimately handle, or at least get done in the timely manner that you promised either that person or that situation. And what happens is I get hard on myself. I'm like, man, I should have done this. I would have done it better. I could have, right? So on and so forth. But the thing is you have good intentions towards it, right? Try to break it down in the simplest form and just say, look, I'm going to give it all my best. I promise you I'm going to try to get this done ASAP, or I'm going to try to help you out in whatever way I can, and just stick to that. Agreement number 2, don't take anything personal. Okay. Easier said than done, right? We all know this. And I think it's a natural reaction and it's a natural emotion to take things personal, especially if you really care about that thing or that person and someone is tarnishing that, or someone is coming and attacking that. So of course you're going to take it personal, let alone if someone's attacking your character as a human being, right? But the thing is that we have to be empathetic and we have to be as mindful in the moment as possible to understand that everyone is going through something and we sometimes don't know about it. So if someone has a bad day and they come and they take it all out on you, you can't take that personally. It's not your fault that they had a bad situation happen at work. It's not their fault they got into an argument with their partner, and so on and so forth. So agreement number 3, don't make assumptions. So I'm going to quote one of my boys, Los, and he says, When you assume, you make a ass out of you and me. Spells out assume. I'm just going to leave it at that. I love that quote, and I love the way he phrases it. He does it better than I do. And it's something that I really try to remind myself on a daily basis. Stop making assumptions. It's okay to ask questions to get clarity on the situation or the event that you're faced with. It's okay to talk things out with the person that you're dealing with. Assuming things only gets you in trouble. It only leads to misunderstanding and a misjudgment, and oftentimes it will lead into arguments. Okay, the fourth and final agreement is always do your best. So one of my favorite quotes, and this is by Jesse Itzler. He says, "How you do anything is how you do everything." I myself am a person that anything I put my name on, I'm going to give it my 100% best effort. I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to make sure that I leave that day with no regret left on the table. I'm going to give it my absolute best, because it's only fair to the person that you're dealing with or the situation that you're dealing with. And obviously, if you don't give it your best, you're only cheating yourself in the end. So pretty simple stuff. Again, the 4 agreements is something that we should always try to implement on a daily basis and remind ourselves often. And I really think if we try to implement these 4 things, we're going to be that much closer to becoming the best versions of ourselves. All right, the 4th book, and it's actually a trilogy. So Jen Sincero is the author of the series You Are a Badass. Now, the first of the 3 books that I read in the order is the yellow book, which is You're a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. The second one is You're a Badass at Making Money, Master the Mindset of Wealth. And the third one of the trilogy is You're a Badass Every Day, How to Keep Your Motivation Strong, Your Vibes High, and Your Quest for Transformation Unstoppable. So let's start with the yellow one. This book was the catalyst and the jump start that I needed to ultimately do and fulfill my life purpose. But how do you do and fulfill your life purpose, right? Because this is something I've been trying to do for the last, 3 or 4 years. Full disclosure. Again, I've been modeling now for it'll be 16 years coming up in May. And I've been thinking about what else my purpose is, right? I never really thought taking pictures or doing commercials was my purpose. It was always just something that I did, and it was never who I was. And in trying to figure out who I was and trying to figure out how I can find my purpose in life, this book was essentially the answers to all my questions. It broke down in the simplest forms because I needed to be very simple and very black and white. Here's the strategy. First, you want to figure out what is your what, right? What is it that you want to do in life? What is it that gets you excited to get out of bed every morning? You get excited to go to sleep at night knowing you're going to wake up to a new day. You get excited and it brings you ultimate fulfillment and joy with whatever it is that you're doing. What is that? What brings you that feeling? Once you can figure out what the what is, then you ask yourself, why? Why do I feel this way? Why do I get so excited? And why does it bring me so much joy? So once you figure out your what and your why, I'm gonna give you the other 5. You let the where, how, and when take care of itself. Whether you trust in the universe, you trust in God, or whatever your higher power is, let the how, where, and when come when the right time comes. The only thing that's in your control is you figuring out your what and why is it your what. So in figuring out, okay, well, what's my what, right? So because I stopped this book like halfway through and I'm like, what the hell is my what? And so I went down this whole list. I went into interior design. Like for those who don't know, I love interior design. I used to say for the longest time, if I didn't model, I would be doing that. I also went into maybe motivational speaking. I went into, like maybe I can be a content creator or, whatever. So I'm going on this whole list. But when I got to the second part of why, right? And I'm like, yeah, I just don't know if that's my life purpose. When I really sat down and just tried to think with a clear mind, no distraction, I thought, helping people. That is my what. Why? Because it brings me the most joy consistently and ultimately fills my heart like nothing else. More than interior design, more than content creating, helping people is something that I have always done throughout my life naturally. It's my first instinct. Sometimes I help too much, right? You can't extend yourself all the time, but it's something that I know for a fact and I feel in my heart, this is my life purpose. So once I figured out my what and why it was my what, then I'm like, okay, well, how am I supposed to help people? Where am I supposed to help people? When am I supposed to help people? And then I kept reading the book and it broke it down and it said, you can't control the where, the when, and the how. You think you have a plan, like we all have a plan, right? And oftentimes it doesn't really go according to plan, as I've come to find out. So what is in my control is finding what my what was and finding why it was that. And I trust the universe, I trust God that the where, when, and how are going to take care of themselves. They're going to present themselves. When the time is right, I will have the full 5. But for right now, what's in my control and what's in your control is, again, figuring out your what and your why. And so I'm going to give you guys some of my favorite quotes from the book. What you focus on, you create more of. Much of the time, we pretend we aren't clear on what our calling is, when what's really going on is that we're horrified to face it because it seems too big or too impossible to make a living at or completely out of the question for us. And let me give you one more. When we share what we're brought here to give, we are in alignment with our highest, most powerful selves. I can go on and on with all the inserts and all the powerful stuff that's in that book, but those are just some of the few quotes that I love from it. And again, it just really made me aware of and what I'm brought on this earth to do and what my purpose is. And another quote that I actually recently read that applies to this book is, it's easy in life to acquire success, but not to have fulfillment. My biggest fear was doing a job that I didn't love. My biggest fear was my kids and my grandkids saying, Dad or Grandpa, did you really love what you did for a living? Well, I'm not going to lie to my kids, right? I'm not going to lie to my grandkids. So I was like, what is it that I can say that I actually love to do, right? We all know the saying of do what you love and love what you do. And when you do that, you'll never have to work a day in your life. And that's what I was striving for. And when I found this book, it was like mind blown. All the light bulbs went off and I couldn't put the book down. This is one book of maybe 5, I think, that I've read in my life that I literally could not put down. So I promise you won't be disappointed. Okay, so the 5th and final book I'm going to leave you guys with is called Limitless by Jim Kwik. This is one of the books I actually recently just finished, and another one that I would put up in my, for sure, top as to what I would recommend to people, and definitely one of those books that I could not put down. Okay, so this book, I'm going to give you guys a couple of my favorite quotes from it. One is, life is the C between the B and the D. B is birth, D is death, and C is choice. And we all have a choice to make in our life. Another one that's amazing is, it's not about how smart you are. It's about how are you smart. And one more I'll give you, which totally ties in with what we're doing right here, is you want self-help, not shelf-help. Right? How many of us have bought books and we put them up on our shelf and they're doing nothing but collecting dust instead of us sitting down and reading it and implementing all the lessons that we got from this book? So the subtitle of this book is Upgrade Your Brain, Learn Anything Faster, and Unlock Your Exceptional Life. This book did exactly that. It unlocked my exceptional life. It unlocked all the potential that my brain holds, which obviously, as we know, is super powerful. And a little cool story about Jim Kwik, the author, is, so when he was younger, he's at school, he's in the classroom, right? And there's a fire right near the school. So the fire trucks are coming in, the sirens are going off, and all these kids run to the window and they look out as to what's going on. So Jim Kwik runs over to the window and he jumps up on the radiator so he can get a better look. And this kid is like, I want to see. He's pulling at Jim's pants, right? He pulled so hard, Jim fell off the radiator and smacked his head on it and had a concussion. He had, I don't know how many brain surgeries. It was this whole ordeal. And after recovering for I don't know how long, he finally comes back to school and he realizes that he's learning slower. He's not really retaining the information better. And he went back to the doctor and the doctor's like, you had a lot of brain contusions and you had a lot of damage to the skull and you had a lot of damage to your brain. And so you may have to deal with this for the rest of your life. So he goes back to school and he's trying to do the best that he can. And the teacher asked him a question one time and Jim didn't know the answer. And the teacher calls him out in front of everyone in the class and says, that's the boy with the broken brain. Now, as terrible as that is, Jim took that as motivation. He went home that day, he was crying. His mom's like, what's going on? He explains to her. She decides to quit her job and ultimately become a teacher for her son. She went to school for it. She made him homeschool for a while there. And with the help of her and the support of her, he took that, again, as ultimate motivation to be able to remember everything, to have no limitations with his brain, his capabilities. He was hired by some of the best A-list actors in Hollywood, from Jim Carrey to Will Smith to Hugh Jackman, because he was able to teach people how to read faster, how to be able to retain information faster when it comes to acting, right? And so Will Smith says, and it's at the top of the book, Jim Kwik knows how to get the maximum out of me as a human being. I remember he gives this pretty cool story about Jim Carrey in the book, when Jim Carrey was auditioning to play Dumb and Dumber. And he hires Jim Kwik, and Jim Carrey goes, I need to learn how to be smart so I can play someone who's dumb. So he calls himself the brain coach, because he's exactly that. He's got a great podcast, and he's got a lot of tips in this book that will ultimately make you unlock the exceptional level of the potential that we all embody. Now, some calls to action here. I want to know what books you guys have read of those that I mentioned. And if you have read them, what were your thoughts on it? What were some of the takeaways that you had? How did they impact and help your life ultimately? What were some of the things that you'll never forget, that were some of the life lessons that you needed at that particular time? I want to know in the comments below. I want to know in the reviews below. And I can't wait to get into it with you guys. If you haven't read any of these books, I want to know which ones really got your attention and you're going to go out and buy right now and really digest. So I'm going to show you guys a little insight behind the scenes as to how I read. So one thing I got from John C. Maxwell's The Daily Reader was a key. And of the key, he gives you different letters that have different meanings. So when you see T, that means think. Think about what you're reading and how it can apply to you. A stands for apply. Whatever you just read, if you feel like you need to apply these things in your life, go ahead and do so. R stands for remember. Remember what you're reading. Remember why you're reading this. Remember what your intentions are. C means change. If you need to change some things in your life and this message actually made you aware of that, then great, and all for it. Now, I always highlight my books, and this is something I just made up on my own. So when you see a yellow highlight, that to me just makes me think, okay, I really need to remember this. I really need to process this, right? When you see an orange highlight, that means to me, I need to apply these things. These are calls to action that I need to implement into my life. And it goes the same for the yellow tabs and the orange tabs. So again, this is something I've done from John C. Maxwell's The Daily Reader. And then when I read Jim Kwik's The Limitless book, I was like, man, I can marry the two. I'm already being an active reader, but let me figure out more ways to be able to consume this and be able to not waste my time when it comes to reading books. Okay, so there you have it. The very first edition of JD's Book Club. The next episode in this series is going to be about all things relationships. I'm going to try to get Shay on here, and we're going to talk about the books that we've read individually when we were single or in other relationships, and the books that we've read together in our marriage that have really helped us out. And some of those books are actually some that our therapist has recommended. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That'll be the next one. And there are plenty more book club ideas to come. I promise you, I'm just getting started. So I really hope this helped you guys out. And if this is some information and some of the books that you think can help other people, please share it. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and turn on all your notifications. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. And please, 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 please comment. I want to know your guys' thoughts. I want to get closer to you guys. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how I can be better and how I can best serve you guys and help uplift you and ultimately help you become the best version of yourself. That's what we're all trying to do. At least that's what I'm striving to do. So until next time, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you guys.